welcome to this, the 15th lecture in our series of lectures on fundamentals of transport processes. In the previous lecture, I had given you a brief overview of how we will be analyzing transport phenomena, and I had said that we will consider the concentration, the temperature and the velocity as fields which are continuously varying functions of position and time. And I had specifically given you an idea of how these fields are defined on the basis of molecular properties, such as the molecular density, the number of molecules per unit volume and their mass, their momentum and the energy contained in those molecules. So, before we go on to actually solving problems in transport phenomena based upon this continuum approximation, I would first like to give you a more fundamental idea of the molecular origins of the two transport processes that we will consider, that is convection and diffusion. Both of these processes, convection of course, as I said, is the transport of material, energy or momentum due to the mean velocity of the fluid. As a fluid moves along, it carries along with it the mass, momentum or energy that it contains, and therefore, it can transport it from one location to the other. Okay. So, if you transport the fluid, it carries along with it its mass, momentum and energy. Diffusion is a molecular process where there is a transport due to the molecular fluctuating velocities, and I had tried to give you a distinction between the fluid mean velocity and the molecular fluctuating velocity in the last lecture. The fluid mean velocity is just the average of all the velocities of all the molecules, the center of mass velocity, if you will. Okay. The fluctuating velocities are the fluctuating velocities of the molecules due to their thermal fluctuations. The fact that whenever the temperature is greater than absolute 0, the molecules are always in a state of constant motion. Okay, and that motion could actually result in transport of material if there is variations in the density of mass, momentum or energy. From this, how do the equations for the fluxes arise, the constitutive relations? From a molecular description, how does one get the Fick's law for mass diffusion, the Fourier's law for heat conduction or the Newton's law for viscosity? That will be the subject of this lecture. Okay. So, the two main mechanisms as we know are convection and diffusion. Okay. Now, convection of course is the transport due to the mean fluid velocity. Okay. If a fluid at any location has a velocity u, okay, that is the mean fluid velocity, this is actually a vector. Okay. I will use a small u here, so that we do not get confused later on. Okay. That is transporting material across an area ds. Okay. The flux, okay, which is the material transported, per unit area into time, okay, across this surface which has a unit perpendicular n, okay, is just equal to the velocity normal to the surface, okay, times the concentration at that surface, the mass density at that surface. You have to dot it with the unit normal, because only the velocity perpendicular to the surface transports material across the surface. The velocity that is tangential to the surface does not transport material across the surface. Okay. That is why you need to dot it with the unit normal. So, this velocity times this mass density concentration gives you a mass transported per unit area per unit time. Okay. Similarly, you can do it for energy transported per unit area into time, will be equal to u dot n times the energy density, the energy per unit volume, okay, and same for momentum. Is equal to u dot n into the momentum density. Momentum is a vector and the momentum density is just equal to the mass density times the fluid velocity, that is the fluid momentum density. Okay. Note that momentum is a vector. Okay. So, this is the flux due to convection. Now, what is the flux due to diffusion? Okay. That is what we are going to see in the next couple of lectures. Okay. Why does diffusion take place? Okay. If I had, okay, let us say any container in which I had a variation in the concentration of some species. Okay. Let us say I have a solvent, okay, which I showed by the light color, okay, and I have a few solute molecules. Okay. And let us say that, as I have shown in this case, the number density of the solute molecules or the concentration of the solute molecules is higher in the lower half of this container in comparison to the upper half. Okay. All of these are in a state of random motion. We will see a little later what their velocities are and what their the distances that they move. Okay. So, all of these are in a state of random motion. Okay. Okay. There is no net mean velocity. We will assume for the moment that the sum of the velocities of all the molecules is identically equal to 0. Okay. So, that there is no net mean velocity of the fluid. Okay. However, since these molecules are all in random motion and the number of molecules, the solute molecules, the red colored molecules in the lower half is higher than that in the upper half, if you wait for some time, on average there is going to be a motion of the red molecules from below to above in such a way that the concentration is equilibrated everywhere. Okay. Of course, the driving force for this is basically thermodynamic. Okay. Entropy prefers to make all the molecules be distributed equally in all regions of space, and for that reason the molecules are going to be moving on average from below to above because their concentrations are different. If there were no concentration difference, then there would be no average motion of molecules, but since the concentrations are different, there is a net average motion of molecules, and that is what is called diffusion. Okay. And that diffusion, okay, flux of molecules takes place from regions of higher concentration to regions of lower concentration. Okay. So, that is the diffusion flux due to the molecular velocity fluctuations of the molecules. Same thing holds for energy transport. Okay. If there were a temperature gradient in the system, okay, and let us say that the molecules below had a higher kinetic energy, fluctuating kinetic energy on average in comparison to the average molecules above. As I had explained to you in the last lecture, the fluctuating kinetic energy half m c square is just equal to 3 by 2 kT. Okay. Having a higher fluctuating kinetic energy implies a higher temperature. Okay. So, therefore, the temperature below is higher, the temperature above is lower. Due to the fluctuating velocities of these molecules, you will have transfer of higher energy molecules upwards and transfer of lower energy molecules downwards. Okay. In gases, the transfer takes place primarily due to the transfer of the molecules themselves. In liquids, it could take place due to molecular interactions. In either case, whether it is by molecular interactions or by the actual motion of the molecules, there has to be a net transfer of energy from below to above or from regions of high temperature to regions of low temperature, and that is the heat flux due to the variations in temperature of the molecules. Okay. Similarly, if you had a mean velocity field, okay, the molecules above will have on average a velocity that is towards the right. The molecules below will have on average a velocity towards the left, or a momentum towards the left. When there is a transport of molecules across this surface, molecules with higher velocity will come downwards and molecules with lower velocity will go upwards, and that is going to cause a net transport of momentum. This transport could take place due to either the physical motion of the molecules across the surface or due to molecular interactions, okay. And this is what causes the stress or the momentum transfer across the surface, okay. So, therefore, transport of mass, momentum and energy due to the fluctuating velocity of the molecules. In gases, it is primarily because the molecules move across a surface physically. In gases, as I tried to explain to you in the last lecture, the distance moved between interactions is much larger than the diameter of a molecule. Therefore, the transfer of energy across a surface or momentum or mass due to molecular interactions is going to be much lower than the transport due to physical motion across the surface. In liquids, the distance between molecules is comparable to the molecular distance, and therefore, the rate of transport across the surface is going to be primarily due to molecular interactions. Okay. This mechanism is actually ultimately responsible for the transfer of heat, mass or momentum, okay, in all the practical applications that we had seen. Okay. If you recall, when we had done the problem of the heat exchanger, where fluid comes in and goes out and there is transfer of energy. As I told you, the fluid coming in and going out is due to convection. Okay. So, here you have convection. Okay. However, if you take a look at a small differential surface area at the surface, you have fluid that is being convected past that surface and there is no fluid velocity perpendicular to the surface, and therefore, ultimately transport across the surface has to take place due to diffusion, due to molecular diffusion. Okay. Similarly, in the case of the catalyst particle that we had studied, okay, there is of course a fluid flow around this particle that is either due to impellers or due to exerted pressure differences across the fluid and so on. But however, if you look at a differential surface element, there is no fluid flow perpendicular to the surface because of the no penetration condition, and therefore, transfer ultimately has to take place due to diffusion perpendicular to the surface, and that is why this diffusive transport is such an important topic. Okay. So, let us look at how does one estimate the diffusion coefficients. Okay. So, I will talk about first diffusion coefficients. And constitutive relations. Okay. First, let us look at the case of transport in gases. Okay. Let us say that I had some differential volume. So, let me take a specific equipment. The equipment that is often used to measure diffusion coefficient is this double bulb, okay, okay, where you have one particular molecule in one half in one bulb and another one in the other. Okay. And then you typically you will have a stopcock across it, okay, which is opened so that now these molecules can mix with each other. Okay. And you try to measure the time that it takes for the mixing to take place. Okay. once you have opened this valve between the two. Okay. Now, if you look at this particular region and expand it, okay, take a look at this particular region and expand it. Okay. What you basically have is the surface, okay, across which diffusion is taking place, okay, and you have molecules on both sides. For the moment, we will assume that these molecular masses are equal, so that there is no center of mass motion as the molecules move across. Okay. Okay. So, that if I plot, for example, the concentration of one of these molecules as a function of distance, that concentration is varying in some way. Okay. This, let me call that as the z distance. Okay. So, the z distance will be the distance along here. Okay. The z distance is the distance perpendicular to the direction of diffusion. Okay. If you plot the concentration here, okay, let us say of the red molecules, this will be higher above and it will be lower below. Okay. It will have some variation across the surface, okay, the concentration. Okay. And these molecules are all in a state of random fluctuating motion. Now, if you look at the molecules that are actually crossing this surface, okay, if you look at the molecules that are actually crossing the surface from below and from above, okay, the molecules that are crossing this surface from above are coming not from the surface itself, but on average from some distance above the surface. Okay. The molecules that are crossing from above to below, okay, are coming on average from some distance slightly above the surface. Okay. Some of them are closer, some of them are further away, but on average they are coming from some distance slightly above the surface. Okay. This distance in the case of gases is of the order of the mean free path. Okay. So, this distance in the case of gases, okay, will be of the order of the mean free path. Okay. It is about 2/3 the mean free path if you actually do a calculation based upon the distribution of velocities and so on, where it is some number times the mean free path, okay, above the surface. Okay. Similarly, the molecules that are crossing the surface from below to above, okay, are coming from some distance slightly below the mean free path, the surface. That distance once again is of the order of the mean free path. Okay. Now, there is no net change in the number of molecules from above to below or vice versa, because for every molecule that goes from above to below, there is one that goes from below to above, because there is no mean velocity. Therefore, the velocity fluctuations have to be equal, positive and negative. Okay. Therefore, the number of molecules that are coming from below to above is equal to the number that is coming from above to below. However, since there is a higher concentration of molecules above the surface of the red molecules, okay, and a lower concentration below the surface, okay, if you actually plot the concentrations at these two locations, okay, for the red molecules, these are different. Okay. Therefore, the number of red molecules coming down is higher, okay, because it is coming from above the surface where the concentration is higher. The number of red molecules going up is lower, because it is coming from below the surface where the concentration of red molecules is lower. And this difference is what is called is what results in the diffusion flux of molecules. Okay. So, let us try to write down an expression for the number of molecules coming downwards. This will be equal to the concentration of the red molecules. Okay. Okay. This concentration has to be at a location z is equal to some constant, okay, a times lambda. Okay. I told you that constant is 2/3 if you do an exact calculation. Okay. Okay. So, this is equal to the concentration at that location, okay, times the RMS velocity, okay, the root mean square velocity of the molecules, okay, VRMS. We will come back to what that is. Okay. So, this is the concentration at that location above the surface times the root mean square of the fluctuating velocity gives you the number of molecules coming downwards, okay, of these red molecules. Okay. This is the number of red molecules coming downwards per unit area into time. Okay. So, this is similar to the convection flux, except that instead of the fluid mean velocity, I have substituted the molecular fluctuating velocities of the molecules, the root mean square measure of the molecular fluctuating velocities of these molecules. Okay. Now, number of red molecules going upwards. So, this I will call this as the flux coming downwards. Okay. Per unit area into time. It is going to be equal to the concentration at the location z is equal to minus a lambda, okay, because these molecules are coming on average from a location that is below the surface. Okay. I have taken z is equal to 0 as the location of that surface, okay, times VRMS. I will call this as the flux going upwards. Okay. Therefore, the net flux J will be equal to what comes down upwards minus what goes downwards. Okay. So, this is equal to C at z is equal to minus a lambda, okay, times VRMS, okay, minus C at z is equal to plus a lambda times VRMS. Okay. I should note that typically in these expressions for the flux, if it were the mean velocity, it would be an exact equality. Okay. Since it is the fluctuating velocity, the equality is not actually exact, okay, because you have molecular fluctuating velocities. It will depend upon how you define the fluctuating velocity, whether it is the average velocity or the root mean square velocity and so on. Okay. So, in these expressions you also have another factor here, which is an factor which is order 1. Okay. Okay. So, that is the expression for the flux. Okay. Now, if I can make the continuum approximation, okay, I told you previously that the continuum approximation is valid so long as the length scale for variation of the concentration is much larger than the molecular scale. Okay. In that limit, the continuum approximation is valid. Okay. In that case, I can write the concentration at z is equal to minus a lambda, okay, will be the concentration at z is equal to 0, okay, minus a lambda dc by dz at z is equal to 0 plus, okay, a lambda square, let me write that. Okay. Whole square by 2 factorial d square c by dz square, okay, at z is equal to 0 plus etc. The Taylor series expansion, okay, at z is equal to minus a lambda. Similarly, at z is equal to plus a lambda is equal to c at z is equal to 0. Okay. So, if I can use the Taylor series expansion and substitute these expressions, okay, substitute these expressions, okay, into this equation, okay, I will get an equation for the net flux. Okay. So, therefore, the net flux is equal to B VRMS into C at z minus a lambda minus C at z plus A lambda. Okay. And if I substitute these expressions at z minus A lambda and z plus A lambda, you can see that the linear terms will all cancel out, okay, because I am taking the difference between these two concentrations. The linear term will cancel out, the quadratic term will also cancel out. Okay. This is also positive in both cases and that will cancel out. However, the term that is proportional to the first derivative, okay, the zeroth derivative and the second derivative will cancel out because they appear with equal signs in both the expressions. The term with the first derivative will not in general cancel out, and if I substitute that in there, I will get minus 2 a b lambda V r m s dc by dz. Okay. This once again is at z is equal to 0. Okay. So, this is the equation for the net flux, okay. And now this equation for the net flux, I can compare it with the equation that I get from the Fick's law for mass diffusion. Okay. So, I will just write this equation here. Okay. Okay. The expression that I got for the net flux was equal to minus 2 a b lambda V r m s dc by dz. Okay. If you recall, the Fick's law for mass diffusion was equal to minus 2 minus the negative sign because the mass is transferred from regions of higher concentration to regions of lower concentration. So, therefore, if the concentration gradient is positive, that means mass is being transferred in the negative z direction, okay, vice versa. Okay. So, comparing this, you get an expression for the diffusion coefficient. Okay. The diffusion coefficient is basically 2 a b lambda V r m s. I told you that A and B are some constants, okay, because when we argued that there is a net flux which is proportional to the concentration times VRMS, it is proportional. Okay. If it were the mean velocity, it would be an exact equality. However, since it is the fluctuating velocity, there is a proportionality constant. Similarly, we had argued that the average location of the molecules coming from below to above is given by some constant times the mean free path. So, there are these proportionality constants, okay, in this expression for the diffusion coefficient. Okay. But subject to that, okay, we also get a very definite value for the diffusion coefficient. So, these are actually dimensionless constants, okay, times the mean free path times the root mean square of the fluctuating velocity of the molecules. Okay. So, that is the expression for the diffusion coefficient. As I had said earlier, diffusion coefficient has dimensions of the mean free path times the fluctuating velocity, which ultimately gives you length square per time. I told you that all the diffusion coefficients, mass, momentum and energy all have dimensions of length square per time. Okay. And this expression here, the mean free path, that is a distance times the fluctuating velocity, has the correct dimensions of length square per time. Okay. So, to within multiplicative constants, the expression for the diffusion coefficient is just equal to the mean free path in the gas times the root mean square fluctuating velocity. Okay. And this is because, as I told you, in gases transport takes place primarily due to the physical transfer of molecules. Okay. More exact calculations will actually reveal that the coefficient A is approximately 2 by 3 for monoatomic gases, B is approximately 1 by 4. Okay. So, the expression for the diffusion coefficient will be to within a multiplicative constant about 1 by 3 lambda times VRMS. Okay. So, now our task is to determine what is this mean free path and what is this molecular fluctuating velocity, okay, of the gases of the molecules in a gas. So, that is something that I will try to determine in the next lecture. Okay. As I told you, both of these are properties of the gas, they depend upon temperature, pressure and so on, but based upon this we can get a very good estimate for what the diffusion coefficient should be. Okay. After that, after I do that estimate, I will then come back and discuss thermal diffusion as well as momentum diffusion in gases. Okay. And once we have done that, we will go and look at what are the expressions in liquids. Okay. So, I hope I have given you some fundamental idea of why diffusion takes place, at least in gases, and how the diffusion coefficients depend upon the properties of the gas. Okay. Now, our next task is to determine what is this mean free path and the root mean square fluctuating velocity. Okay. That we will do in the next lecture. Okay. So, I will see you in the next lecture, and I will continue this calculation in the next lecture. Thank you.